Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for inviting me. I'm Andrea Giammarchi. I'm not expecting you to pronounce properly my surname. Nobody does. I'm Web Reflection in Twitter. Talking about pile of poo. Last project I worked at Twitter was about Twemoji, which is an open source library to bring pile of poo all over the web. So have a look. This talk is mostly focused on custom elements and their role on the web and the status. Let's start with a brief history of web components. It's nothing new, actually. In July 2000 already, actually before that, but in July 2000, a revolutionary browser went out paving the path for custom elements behavior. Guess which browser was it? There he goes. Awesome. So element behaviors came out with Internet Explorer 5. I'm gonna read this. I didn't learn the full thing, but one of the most significant new capabilities. This was year 2000. They provide the capability to define custom elements which can be used in the same way as normal HTML elements in a web page, and then you can define a behavior for each custom element. It was pretty cool stuff. Only 12 years later, somebody at Google decided to propose to publish the draft about custom elements. And actually, it wasn't just custom elements, it was about web components, which is a bigger group of standards. Good timing, because in September 2012, Microsoft released IE10. Also perfect timing, because in case you missed the first line that I've just showed about the custom elements, so IE10 abandoned completely custom elements. So thank you, IE. Well, let's see what are web components. There are four main things. The first is templates. Templates are just, I took this from CSS Tricks website. There's a good article about web components there, a good overview. This is the template example, one of the examples, and this is just an element. The template, you can think as a template tag as a, when you do on JavaScript document, create document fragment, is something invisible. You can append a document fragment, you won't see it. It's not affected by CSS or anything. It's just basically a wrapper or some HTML template, and you can use it and clone it and use it to decorate your page. This is one thing, it's quite straightforward, it's not big deal, it's just an element. Then we have the shadow DOM. Shadow DOM is quite more complicated thing. So still the example from CSS trick page is about having just the video tag. And the video tag, inside the video tag you see the button, the timing, the volume, all these things are HTML, which is cool. So behind the scene, HTML is providing components for HTML itself, which is very cool. And you can see these things only if you enable your browser. You tell the browser, hey, show me what's behind the scene. You can think the prehistorical version of the shadow DOM as an iframe tag. You have this iframe in your page. What happens behind the iframe is actually not affecting at all your document or your page. So Shadow DOM is more powerful because it doesn't require at all external requests and is more flexible than iframes. And then we have HTML import, which is about just importing components, so like a proper way to attach some component and define some behavior. And then finally we have custom elements, last but not least. I think this is the most interesting specification. Custom elements are about basically, you define either a custom name for an element, or a type. When you define a type, is extending somehow another element. And we'll see, we have many examples, so we'll see later what I'm talking about. The custom elements gives us the ability to attach behaviors or decide what to do per each element, per each registered element on the page. We have created callback, which will be invoked only once when the element is created. attach and detach callback and attribute change. So these are quite powerful callbacks that give us the ability to react, to change the document, to do something. Let's see the current status. This is, I took from John Rimmer page. The current status is quite sad. So specifications are there. There is a polyfill for all specifications. I think there is only one polyfill for all specifications. And then Chrome and Opera, the latest Opera is based on Chrome, so they both support natively all specifications, which is cool. Then we have Firefox, which has template. Template is just one element, it's quite simple. Imports, I read here HTML imports are on hold because there's some discussion how to stack nested dependency or how to import properly and how to do it non-blocking, but if you need that, how should behave, so still not there. And then custom elements and Shadow DOM, I read flag, but I believe you have to manually activate somehow through the Firefox before you launch it. Well, at least not in my Firefox yet. Almost there, I guess. Let's skip Safari for a second. Let's talk about IE. So Microsoft is doing very good job lately, and IE 11 is very open. The developers' relationship is great. I don't like this kind of vote new things because we have standard bodies to define standards, and then it's not about voting. It's not democracy. It's like there is a standard, please follow it. Just do not vote it. Do not wait for people to vote. You just, if it's for priority, okay, but it's not about, hey, should we implement that? Maybe not. I mean, it's not like that, right? So I don't even want to talk about Safari. It's just, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea, and nobody does, and nobody will ever have any idea. So it's just a bit of anger. So I'm imagining myself writing a letter, dear browser vendors. Hey, I'm a developer. I read standards. I would like to develop for the web, you know. And I'm expecting like Apple Safari engineers reacting like this. It's just, yeah. Why would I even bother them? Anyway, which polyfill for what? Actually, the very first common confusing thing about this polyfill is that it's not a polyfill. So Polymer is a library on top of a polyfill. The polyfill about web components is quite big piece of well-written code, but it's not Polymer. Polymer is an abstraction layer on top of the abstraction layer that is web components. Similar things for Xtag from Mozilla. I don't know the current status, but basically they are all based on the same web components.js. So they do the same thing on top of it. So, but the underlying library is exactly the same. And then there is my library, which is not even about web components, it's only about custom elements. Because there are workarounds, things are not stable yet, things are not finalized for the imports, template has some problem when you polyfill it, can be heavy. There are a few things that you can work around somehow. But custom elements is the one that was important for me. And by the time I wrote this polyfill for custom elements, these kind of devices, this is an Android 2 phone, they're still selling these devices, but at the time it was like 40% of global mobile market share. Web Components JS doesn't work there. So it works with the modern browsers, but it left behind a lot of mobile. Let's see a live demo. So let's see how these things work. The first thing I want to show you is the very basic example is a Google Map custom element tags. So this is based on Polymer. In order to have this, you just need to install Node.js, which installs NPM. So you can install Bower. Then you can install Polymer and Web Components. And finally, you can get in also Google Map. As easy as that. You have a tag on your page. You have this tag, Google Map. This is the custom element. And then you have to define somehow the height of this tag, because every map needs to know the bounding box of the map in order to change coordinates from mouse to earth coordinates through Mercator projection. And it's something that you need to define always a height for any map, not just Google Map. And then if you go on the website, you have to learn all the properties that you can attach to this element, like latitude, longitude, the zoomable false. This is, well, I put it in because while I'm scrolling a page and there is a little map, if I catch that thing under my wheel, my mouse wheel, start zooming in and out. I hate that. So I drop the zoom. This is the defaults. I don't know why it's here. It doesn't matter. And then inside this Google Map component, I have markers. Google Map marker with the latitude, longitude, title. So I put a hotel and this venue as a marker, just for test. Let's see how it looks like. Let's see also how heavy will that be. I've cleaned the cache. So I'm using Opera. Opera has native support. Let's see how it is. So this is the final result. So the map is coming up. It's still loading something. I have final results here. It's like DOM content loaded, this blue line, 200 milliseconds. Load the 627. Total 7 seconds. I don't know what's going on. 1.2 megabytes. Well, for native support, I'll say not bad at all. 1.2 is actually not so pleasant to wait for it or pay for it if you're on data roaming. So, but hey, there's the entire library Google Maps is there. So let's check on Firefox, which has no native implementation, and then let's see how different would that be. So yeah, things are coming up. There are markers. Done. Boom, 60 requests, 1.6 megabyte, 10 seconds. Okay, does it work? Sort of. Very bad performance. This is my very old netbook. I don't know even why I'm using this, but I forgot the adapter for the projector. So cool. So we have these two things are showing up magically because I have just one tag. And I'm importing Polymer, the web components file, and the Google Map component. So this is HTML import, and this is the platform web component. Now, the web is also about not breaking badly who's not there yet, or at least it used to be like this. I have the exact same page. The difference between this page and this page, I just dropped the Polymer related part. And I want to check, okay, I have this map, I have all this metadata on the document. What's going to happen if I, even on native implementation, what's going to happen? Nothing. I have an empty square. Now imagine you have a business and the map where you are is actually quite important info. And having a little map, why shouldn't nobody be able to see where you are and eventually click on it or have more detail, just hovering the image or something. So this is one way of using custom elements. This is the Google Map components for based on Polymer. This is their way to think about custom elements. And then there is an alternative way, which is, let's say, my way. I start my way without any JavaScript in. So this is a similar page. I have my style, and I'm styling the image element with a type cross map or xmap. And then I have another piece of style that will be ignored because there's no xmap tag on the page whatsoever. And then what I have on the body I have an image with a type xmap, which will be ignored, the type, by any browser. But then I have a title, which will not be ignored. And then I have a static map. So the static map is just, thanks to OpenStreetMap, is a very simple API. I can specify one or more markers, the kind of flag I want for markers, the center in lat along, the zoom, the size, and the kind of style I want. So this is an image. What does it mean? That if I try this, I see it. This is my component, which is just an image. It's like, hey guys, image were ready 15 years ago, what happened? And if I go over with my mouse, I see some info. So this is providing some feedback. It's giving me an idea where I am and what I'm doing. Now, I bring in my custom element, which is JavaScript XMap. This is not actually mandatory. This DOM4 utility, I just usually, by default, I put DOM4 in because it fixes a lot of little gotchas with the old and new browsers about DOM manipulation and custom events. And then I bring in my document register element polyfill. What's the difference? So the image is there, but then my component comes up. And I have my dynamic map, I have my top-up, pop-up per each marker. I can use it, I can zoom it. Actually, it's too fast. I don't know if it's because of Opera. Is that faster? Let's try on Firefox. Yeah, okay, this is better. So it's also faster. So we have like 18 requests instead of 60. We have 1/3 of the size. And also we have a page that if I try the same thing on this phone, let me try. So this is the Google Map version. Is white in case you don't see it. It's nothing. And this is, if I manage to click it, yeah. And this is the same. This is exact same page. So I have the fully dynamic thing, and I can click on marker maybe if I manage. Yeah, and I can zoom in and out. And this is an Android 2 phone, and it works already. So since they're still, if they were not selling this for the last 10 years, I wouldn't even care. But there are people that don't buy phones every 6 months. So why not supporting them if it's that easy? Let's have a look at what's going on inside this cross map. Is a bit of code that I'm going to show you. It's not that difficult to follow, even if you're not that into JavaScript. So the service I'm using is called Leaflet. Leaflet is a very lightweight, well, nowadays everyone says that everything is lightweight, but Leaflet, it kind of is. It's open source, and you can decide whatever style for tiles you want behind the scene. It's very cool. And I'm registering my element, XMap, extending the image. So I'm not saying I want an XMap, like the Google Map tag. I want an image that, when we type XMap, and so that I can create a callback without doing anything on the DOM, without using jQuery, read event, without doing any of this. I just have a created callback that will be invoked whenever any other library will inject an image tag with type XMap. What's gonna do this? So Leaflet input the capitalized big L as a main entry point for the library on the document. If it's not there, what am I doing here? I'm flagging that I'm loading Leaflet. So I'm also doing lazy loading. In this case, the lazy loading and all this part came inside, included in those 500K. 500K is like 200K for the image, because it's still heavy, but hey, at least I have a fallback. And then in case the user has a capable browser, it gets upgraded, it gets Leaflet, and it has full map capability. And I load the Leaflet. I set the same listen as a create a callback to the current node, and then I will replace the node. Once the map is loaded, I will trigger the Leaflet loaded event, and I will have a new element that I can safely call XMap, because this is my component, so no one else is using this element as a XMap. This will not be affected by any logic in the XMap, because this is just an element with a name. It's not what I register. I register a special image tag with type XMap, not the XMap itself. And this is something you can reuse with buttons, with selects, with inputs, with all the things that you want to have a fallback that works no matter what in every browser. So I'm gonna replace the current image with my special new tag, and I'm gonna render the map with the geodata. The geodata is just a method that grabs all the info through the URL, the source of the image, that I know how it's assembled, because I'm the one that created the component, and I know what kind of info I can look for it. And then I have a center, and I grab the center, and I split into an array of lat long, because leaflet works with arrays of lat long. And then I will have markers, a list of markers that I know I can split through the pipe, and then create again a center through an array of lat long. And then I have a size, and then I have a zoom level. I have all the things that I need later on to initialize my leaflet map. This is just how I'm loading it. It's just grabbing the link, the style sheet, grabbing the script, setting an load event, and mapping per each custom image type XMAP I have on the DOM, trigger leaflet loaded. The trigger will be is attached before loading per each image. And so let's see how I render the map, which is the important bit. I have my container. I create a target, which is just a regular div inside my container, and I receive all the data that I've parsed from the image source. I have to specify tiles. I'm using OpenMapQuest because they have the same tiles that OpenStreetMap was providing, the OSMA render tiles. I have to specify width and height because, like I said, every map needs a bounding box in pixels or a dimension, real dimension on the screen to work properly. And then I can initialize my leaflet with my target node. Scroll with zoom is to avoid the scrolling, the behavior on the map zooming while I'm scrolling the page. I have the center, I have the zoom, I have set up my tile layers, and then if I have markers, I can add markers on the map, and if I have info, I can also bind a pop-up for each marker. This, I'll come back later to this. So, oh, actually, I can describe it. So this is an old way to write and load. Once upon a time, there were browsers, and probably today there are still some browser that is not compatible with the script.load event. So in this case, I'm like already state change, whatever happens, I'm checking that the already state is gone, and then eventually call the load and blah blah blah. I use a set timeout because if I might trigger the load events before the library has been parsed. This is called you ain't gonna need it. So this is stuff that really you ain't gonna need it. But it was there because I was testing a few things. And so this is basically the final result. That's not it. So it just doesn't stop with the map. You can, with having this kind of logic, you can have also, these are cross-clock. Cross-clock is one of the very first example about how to use custom elements. So you have, one is dynamic and one is fixed. And the way I'm rendering these things is just setting the cross-clock. So in this case, I'm providing, there's no equivalent in the older world about showing a clock. How do you show a clock? Well, you show hour, minutes, seconds. And the cross-clock or X-clock is just a wrapper. It will be handled like any other element, but it will show if the library is not compatible for some reason with this JavaScript implementation, it will show something. So you will have 10.10, 10.10.30. Now it's just static, but it could be also obviously generated through the server and be dynamic. And then you have this sort of graceful enhancement myth, where if the browser does not support completely your CSS and everything else, maybe okay. It won't look the best thing ever, but it still works. So you have a squared clock, which is not bad, I'll say. So this is a different way of using custom elements. It doesn't bring in the old things that cannot possibly work on modern browsers, and try to work everywhere. I show you that it's lightweight and okay. What I didn't show you before is that also Google has to be fair, the Google Map provides us Google static image. So they have it. I don't know why in all examples I've seen, they don't tell you that, hey, you know what? We could do the same because, now where is it? Because, yeah, because they have it. So this is exactly the same thing that OpenStreetMap is giving me. Of course they have this ability, but they are not thinking about putting this inside the component. which will be as a very easy fallback. Let's move on. So we were here. What is document register element about? So this polyfill is really about document register element. So document.register element, nothing else. It doesn't polyfill. Actually, it doesn't polyfill document register element NS. So the namespace elements are not polyfilled because that's a different matter that needs extra things that cannot possibly work reasonably fast in all browsers. It's 2.1 kilobyte once minified and gzipped. It has been tested against all these devices that Polymer left behind. So Polymer works on desktop browsers or modern desktop browser, so does document register element. All IE9 and more, Firefox and Safari as well. But if you do things the right way without going fully web components, just doing little step at once, maybe you can do things that works regardless the capability of this library or Polymer library. Just stick a static image inside your map. That will be a good practice. So to rephrase and drop some confusion about custom elements, I think these are a great opportunity to improve the web, to improve reusability for developers, and most of this stuff is published on GitHub already. I need to do some cleanup and publish a bit more, but it's there and it's working, and improve compatibility for users. So custom elements are an opportunity to combine the best from both worlds. So yeah, it's a very good opportunity to have what we call graceful enhancement. Now we have the ability to gracefully enhance everything. Now before I go there, and about improving compatibility, I didn't have time to make many beautiful slides because I've been busy thinking about the reason, one of the main reasons people still haven't, this stuff has been out for years, and people still haven't embraced web components or custom elements that much. And Polymer guys are pushing like hell, talking about this stuff, but everyone is more about other frameworks, other library. They don't find it interesting. And there is one recurring question about web components and custom elements is, does it work even in IE8? This is basically probably one of the main reasons developers stay away from web components. If you try, I think, leaflet work down to IE7 even, I think. I believe Ember.js works down to IE8 as well without problems. So I wasted a little bit of time, and I finally managed to find the right combination of little things that I need to bring in a page only for IE8 in order to try to make it work. So I took this map and I put some normalizer for timers. I put some normalizer for IE8. Oh, this is also a project of mine because sometimes I had to support IE8 recently, and it's still actually quite used as a project. This makes IE8 more friendly with all DOM things. DOM things in the DOM 2 and 3 world, custom elements, add event listeners, and stuff like that. And then once I have normalized that, I can normalize the DOM 4 on top. And once I have the DOM 4 on top, I've created a document register element IE8 upfront fix.js. This is insane. I mean, but this is all stuff that goes only for IE8 and nothing else. These are conditional comments. No other browser will ever download or even see a bit of this information. I mean, they will see on the layout, but they will not actually use it. Then I will have the library with the IE8 stuff that I put in. Try to make it work. And then what else I need? I need ES5. So I brought for IE8 also ES5 shim, ES5 sham. So object.create, because this is what you use to create components and stuff like that. And then I put this image with the same image I used before. And then I tried. No, please. And then I tried. And this is what I've seen. Well, the image. And I was saying, no, come on, there must be a way to make it work. So, well, I proved the point myself that it's going to work regardless. But then I thought, why? What am I missing? What am I missing here? So the XMAP, as example, is not minified. Every minifier will take care of this. So you cannot have reserved words in JSON. Not in JSON, no, obviously, but not even as a literal object. You cannot have reserved words. So extends was the main issue. Now, you wrap extends, and remember that you ain't gonna need it because browsers didn't know how to load things. So I've done these two things, and then I press refresh, and I've seen them up. So I wrote, I'd say, experimental version of custom elements for IE8. I broke a barrier that nobody there before because they thought, okay, we need mutation observer, mutation events, mutation this, mutation that. I have a library. I'm hooked into the library. It's a very little monolithic piece of shit coupled to itself, but it works. So, that's all I got for you. It's on GitHub. It's called document register element with hyphens between each word. Yeah, please have a look at how the custom element specification, which is linked in the repository, work. Just wait for me to put the IE8 file is there. Oh, I forgot to mention. It was 2.1 minified and gzipped. With all the things I had to do to make IE work, the library for everyone, excluding all things that will be loaded only in IE8, now is 2.5. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's still quite lightweight. So I hope I will manage to, and all tests are greens. Yeah, I forgot. That was actually the most important part, that if you have like 56 tests, you are doing test-driven development, and things are way easier to fix up. So I hope you'll use it at least. Thank you.